I just finished reading the book of Exodus again. And two things out of the many things I learned from that book about God is that number one, God is very precise, He's very detailed. You can see this in the way that He gave Moses the instructions of how He wanted the Ark of the Covenant to be built, how the cover of the Ark, also called the place of atonement, how He wanted it to be built, how He wanted the courtyard, the tabernacle, the altar to be made, how He wanted the incense and the olive oil to be mixed. God is very detailed. God is very precise. Another thing I learned about God from the book of Exodus is that God's love language is obedience. Like, how many of you know that about God? All He wants from us is obedience. Obedience encompasses every other thing. It encompasses the service, the love, everything. All He wants from us is obedience. That is His love language. He told the Israelites, like so many times, I have so many quotations in the Bible where He was telling them to obey Him. If you will obey me and do this and do that, you will eat the fruit of the land, you eat the good of the land, I will heal your sicknesses. He just wanted them to obey Him. Let's read a few verses to buttress this fact. Exodus chapter 19, let's read verse 5. Now, if you will obey me and keep my covenant, you will be my own special treasure from among the peoples on earth, for all the earth belongs to me. He wanted them to just obey Him, keep His covenant, and you will be His own. See, it doesn't just apply. I hope you know it doesn't just apply to the Israelites. It also applies to us today. If you are able to bring yourself to the point of obedience, to the place of obedience to God, if you're able to live a life of obedience to Him, then He will make you His special treasure. He will make you His most prized possession. Okay, Exodus 23, 20 to 22. See, I am sending an angel before you to protect you on your journey and lead you safely to the place I have prepared for you. Pay close attention to him and obey his instructions. Do not rebel against him, for he is my representative, and he will not forgive your rebellion. But if you are careful to obey him, following all my instructions, then I will be an enemy to your enemies, and I will oppose those who oppose you. So all he wanted for them to do was to obey the angel that he was sending ahead of them, and also obey the his instructions that he was going to give to them through the angel. One more place to read, Exodus 15:26. He said, if you will listen carefully to the voice of the Lord your God and do what is right in his sight, obeying his commands and keeping all his decrees, then I will not make you suffer any of the diseases I sent on the Egyptians, for I am the Lord who heals you. There are so many places in the Bible where you will find God instructing his people to obey him. All he wanted from them was obedience. So it is safe to say that obedience is God's love language. Now, one interesting thing I found out about God based on Exodus, this same book of Exodus, and then a part of Leviticus, is that when God instructs you to obey him, when he gives you an instruction that he expects you to obey, guess what? He doesn't just leave you to find a way to obey him. He helps you to obey him. He actually makes provision for you to be able to obey him. I saw that in the part where he instructed Moses, where he called him up to the mountain and he gave him the instruction of how he wanted the Ark of the Covenant, how the cover, the place of atonement was to be built, how the clothes for the priests were to be made. God gave them detailed and precise instructions. He gave to Moses, because it was Moses he gave it to. Do you know, at a point as I was reading, I lost track. I didn't understand what I was reading anymore. But God appointed two men, and he filled them with wisdom. Those two men were Bezalel and Ohola. Bezalel and Ohola, yeah. Let's read Exodus chapter 31, verse 1 to 6, so that you will see what I'm talking about. Then the Lord said to Moses, look, I have specifically chosen Bezalel, son of Uri, grandson of Hur, of the tribe of Judah. I have filled him with the Spirit of God, giving him great wisdom ability and expertise in all kinds of crafts. He is a master craftsman, expert in working with gold, silver, and bronze. He is skilled in engraving and mounting gemstones and in carving wood. He is a master at every craft. And I have personally appointed Oholiab. Oholiab. What did I call him before? Ohola. What did I say? I have personally appointed Oholiab, son of Ahisamach, of the tribe of Dan, to be his assistant. Moreover, I have given special skill to all the gifted craftsmen so that they can make all the things I have commanded you to make. See how God is. See how intentional God is. See how detailed He is. See how He plans something from the beginning to end. He pays attention to details. He gives instructions and then He helps us to obey and follow those instructions. He will not just leave it to you to find a way to obey Him. He helps you to obey Him. He filled these men with His Spirit, the Spirit of wisdom, helping them to understand exactly what Moses told them, because He did not give these men the instruction directly. He gave them the instruction through Moses. So Moses came to them and relayed the instructions to them, the description of how God wanted everything to be built. And somehow, because He had filled them with His Spirit, they were able to get that picture. They were able to get the picture of exactly what God had in mind, and they were able to bring that picture into fruition. They brought it to life because of His Spirit that He put in them. That is how God is. So when He gives us instructions, when He tells us what He wants us to do, what He expects from us, and He wants us to obey Him, best believe that He is there to help you. How? With His Spirit. All you need to do is to pray and ask the Spirit of God to help you. Another place that I saw this nature, this character of God, was in Leviticus chapter 25. Leviticus 25, we're reading 1 to 7. We're reading a lot, but it's okay. God's word is for us to read. This was the part where God gave Moses the instruction concerning the Sabbath year. Have you ever heard about it? Have you ever read this in the Bible? You know how God gave the instruction of the Sabbath day, which is the seventh day, to keep it holy and not do any work. There was also something called the Sabbath year, which God told them that they are not supposed to plant anything on the Sabbath year, that they are supposed to let the land rest. Okay, so Leviticus 25. I'm going to read it real quick. When Moses was on Mount Sinai, the Lord said to him, "Give the following instructions to the people of Israel. When you have entered the land I'm giving you, the land itself must observe a Sabbath rest before the Lord every seventh year. For 6 years, you may plant your fields and prune your vineyards and harvest your crops. But during the seventh year, the land must have a Sabbath year of complete rest. It is the Lord's Sabbath. Do not plant your fields or prune your vineyards during that year. And don't store away the crops that grow on their own or gather the grapes from your unpruned vines. The land must have a year of complete rest, but you may eat whatever the land produces on its own during its Sabbath. This applies to you, your male and female servants, your hired workers, and the temporary residents who live with you. Your livestock and the wild animals in your land will also be allowed to eat what the land produces." So basically, they were supposed to let the land observe a year of rest, which was the Sabbath year. Now, I want to show you something. Verse. Unu yagubu onwe unu na Bible na page. Unu yagubu onwe unu na Bible. Now this is my page. Okay, so I want to quickly show you something. Verses, the same Leviticus 25, we're reading verses 20 to, we're reading from verse 20. "But you might ask, what will we eat during the seventh year, since we are not allowed to plant or harvest crops that year? Be assured that I will send my blessing for you in the sixth year, so the land will produce a crop large enough for 3 years. When you plant your fields in the 8th year, you will still be eating from the large crop of the 6th year. In fact, you will still be eating from that large crop when the new crop is harvested in the 9th year." Do you see what God did? God gave them an instruction. Observe Sabbath year. He didn't just leave them, because He knew their form. He knew that they were human beings, and He knew above all that the Israelites were very stubborn, very, very stubborn. So He helped them to obey these His commandments. How did He help them? He made sure that on the 6th year, he sent a blessing to them, that their land produced like excessive abundance. I don't even know if that English is correct. Like, the abundance of crops that were produced on the 6th year was so excessive that it was enough for 3 years. So every 6th year, God made sure that they had enough. So they harvested a lot of food that was supposed to last them through the 7th year, when the land will be observing its rest. And then that food that he provided on the 6th year was still going to be enough that it will last them through the 8th year. That even when they start planting on the 8th year, they will still be eating from the crop that they harvested on this during the 6th year. And then even during the 9th year, they will still be eating from the crops that they harvested during the 6th year. That's how God is. Is it not mind blowing? I don't know about you, but I find all these things, all these facts about God very mind blowing. That God is so complete. Like, everything he does is complete. He thinks about everything. There is nothing he doesn't think about. And then he helps us to do his will. He helps us to obey him. So you don't have an excuse to not obey God. There must be something that he has put in place to help you obey him. So it's now up to us to find out what it is. What is it that he has put in place for us to be able to obey him, for us to find it easy? So you should pray a prayer. We should pray a prayer that, God, please help me to recognize the ways that you have put help in place for me to obey you. Help me to recognize it. Help me to access it. Help me to take advantage of it, so that I can live a life of obedience to you, so that I will not be doing what you did not tell me to do, so that I will not be finding myself living a life of disobedience, because we are supposed to live a life of obedience to God. And he's willing to help us to live a life of obedience to him. I found these revelations in the book of Exodus and Leviticus, and I thought to come and sit here and share with you. Let's chat in the comment section. Thank you for sitting through this video and through the reading, all the Bible reading that we did. Thank you so much. God bless you. We're going to see ourselves in the next video. Bye.